The best chin in the UFC. Now, these are only active UFC fighters that are fighting for the company right now, with the addition of Francis Ngannou, just because how can I not put Francis Ngannou in it? It's also going to be weight class relevant. So, for example, a flyweight can make it in chicken salad, and a heavyweight could make it in D tier. And D tier doesn't mean it's a bad tier. Every single person in this list has a good chin, in my opinion. So this is just simply ranking where they are. Is anybody that I missed? Please let me know in the comments. I'm sure there'll be somebody, but this is everybody using sort of Tapology's top 100 chins and a couple other tier list videos I've seen. I've made sure to include everybody that I think should be on here. But yeah, let's get started, man. Just want to say I am still playing around with the whole studio, you know what I mean? I opted to kind of turn the lighting down a little bit to keep the ambience of the room. So if this lighting's okay, let me know in the comments if you think it should be brighter and it looks a bit like crackheady, you know what I'm saying? Looks like I'm in a fucking Skyrim dungeon. But let me know. Either way, let's get onto the tier list. We've got S tier chicken salad as usual. Then we've got A, B, C, and D. I would usually put the bottom tier as something bad like Mike Jackson, Ben Askren, whatever the fuck. But I'm just going to keep it as D tier, because some of these fighters do classify for the bottom tier, and I don't want to call it something ultra negative like Mike Jackson. Fuck Mike Jackson. Just because it's not that negative of the, to end up in D tier of the best chins in the UFC, it doesn't mean anything bad. You know what I'm saying? So let me see who would go in D tier for me. I'll tell you what. D tier, the first fighter in D tier for me, Robert Whittaker. Now, if I'd have made this list a few years ago, Robert Whittaker would have probably been in like B tier, just because of the Yoel Romero wars, things like that, some of the shots that he's ate. But getting finished by Izzy how he did, and then most recently getting finished by Dricus du Plessis, that's kind of what bumps him all the way down to here. Still has a good chin, of course. Dricus, big guy, very powerful. I'm sure a lot of people would have dropped to that shot, but I can't really put him any higher than D tier, but he still has a good chin, you know what I mean? So just because you're in D tier, or just because a fighter's in D tier, I should say, doesn't mean that they have a terrible chin. Next, we are going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov, and we're going to put him in A tier. Doesn't move his head a lot, which scares the fuck out of every Shavkat fan in the world, but one thing that we have been able to see through that sort of lack of head movement is his chin. Got caught many times by Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's a big puncher at 170, man. And, Shavkat got caught very clean a few times. Did kind of get wobbled at one point, but ate the shot. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't move his head, so he does catch a lot of shots on the chin, and he's shown so far that he can eat them. Pause. We're going to put him in A tier. I might move him at the bottom of A tier, maybe front of B tier, depending on how this list starts to shape up. But either way, next fighter we're going to go with Colby Covington. We're going to put him in B tier. Good chin to not get flatlined by people like Usman. Did get clipped by Jorge as well with a right hook, I think it was. Just a little check hook that took him, put him on one knee, but nothing serious. The shots Usman caught him with, however, were pretty big shots, you know what I mean? We saw Usman flatline Jorge. We've seen him hurt some other people like Burns. He dropped Burns all over the place with a jab, So Colby definitely took Usman's best punches and walked through them. Did get dropped a few times though, so I can't really put him in A. A is kind of reserved for the fighters that maybe have only been dropped once or twice, but majority they can eat the shots. B would be fighters that do have a good chin, but they do get dropped quite a lot. And then C and D would be kind of like, D, you've been knocked out maybe once or twice, but you still, deserve to be on this list. Next, we're going to go with Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen, I'm going to put in B tier. Obviously, on a great streak. I know he's obviously coming off of a loss to Max, but the streak before that, did get clipped a couple of times. Went to war with Dan Hooker. Those guys were just throwing back and forth. And, a couple of shots did catch him. Max was landing hard. I know people want to say Max has no power and stuff, but at the end of the day, he's still a trained UFC fighter punching you in the fucking face. You know what I'm saying? I won't put him behind Colby just because Colby has been dropped quite a few times now by Usman. So, and he almost was out cold in that second round in the second fight. So, I'll put him in B tier. Next, we'll go with Stipe Miocic. Now, if this was Stipe in his prime, he would probably be lower S tier, high A tier, somewhere around there. Took shots off of Francis, took so many punches off so many big heavyweights. Even back in the day, was catching clean left hooks by JDS on the chin, dropping but getting straight back up and fighting through. I'd put him in A tier. Did get KO'd by Francis, did get KO'd by DC in their first fight, so drops him a little bit, but still A tier. Although I think if he got cracked by a Pavlovich or an Aspinall at this point, I think he's going out cold. Next, we're going to go with Nate Diaz. Now, Nate Diaz, again, if this was a few years ago, he'd probably be much higher up the list, but he has been cracked a few times, including getting dropped and almost put through the ropes by Jake Paul. I'm not trying to talk shit on Nate for fighting and getting dropped by Jake Paul. Jake Paul has shown at this point that, you know, he's clearly a better boxer than a lot of these MMA fighters, especially somebody like Nate, who has always been praised for his boxing, but really only has a solid 1-2 and then a bunch of slappy shit, you know. Doesn't turn any of his hooks over, slaps everything. And even with a boxing camp in the mid-fight with his coaches saying, Nate, you need to stop slapping them hooks and try and turn them over, try and put a bit of power in. He still couldn't make that adjustment. So that's a little side note more about his boxing skill. But Nate Diaz, I'll put him in B tier. Put him in high B tier just because... Actually, I'll put him low A tier because he has still got a mad chin. And, you know, I think he could eat a lot of shots. Like, could he eat the high kick from Leon Edwards that he KO'd Usman with? Probably not, but Leon was catching him a few times and it wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? So... A tier for Nate Diaz. Next, we're going to go with Brandon Moreno. We're going to put him high A tier. Yeah, we're going to put him high A tier. I know I said it's... I tell you what, no, we'll put him S tier, bro, because I don't mind having a few fighters from a few different weight classes on S tier, and I think Brandon Moreno has probably got the best chin at flyweight. Has taken so many shots from one of the biggest punches in the whole division's history, which is Figgy, you know. Been hurt a few times, but also walked through a lot of shots that would have put a lot of other people out. Brandon Moreno definitely, I think, earns his spot in chicken salad. I might crank him down to the front of it eventually, but we'll see how it goes. Next, we're gonna go with Conor McGregor. Now, Conor McGregor, I'm gonna put in D tier, in front of Whittaker, just because he hasn't been. I mean that, you know, he's been hurt by Porier, dropped by Porier, and Porier kind of flashed him, KO'd him for a second, and he kind of woke back up, you know. Would I put that on the same level as Whittaker being finished by Izzy, almost getting knocked out twice in one fight, you know, almost got finished near the end of the first round, then got finished in the second, and then also got finished by Duplessis in the second round, you know. I would put McGregor over Whittaker just because people don't give Conor enough credit for eating the damage that Mendes put on him. And I know Mendes was on a short camp, and, you know, the whole full camp Mendes, there'd be no Conor McGregor thing. But, you know, the shots that Conor did eat off Mendes, and even some of the punches that Porier was stinging him with in that third fight, you know what I mean? I'd say Conor deserves to be on this list. Probably put him behind Whittaker, though, to be honest. So, yeah. Next, we're going to go with Piotr Jan. I'm going to put him on A tier. I'm going to put him above Shavkat. We have seen his chin tested a couple of times. O'Malley absolutely cracked him. And as we know now, O'Malley, you know, he hit Sterling and sent him rolling all over the canvas. You know, he's KO'd so many people, O'Malley has. And he caught Piotr Jan with a big shot. You know, one of his cleanest, you know, straight right hands, I think it was. One of O'Malley's best shots, and it landed very clean. And Piotr kind of covered up, ate it, and threw one straight back. So I don't need to sit here and tell you how good Piotr Jan's chin is. Everybody knows his defense is, you know, amazing for the sport in general. So it doesn't really have to show his chin as much, but definitely deserves to be on this list. And for me, definitely deserves to be an A tier. Maybe dropping back a little bit like that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Next, we're going to go with Marlon Chito Vera. I'm going to put him in S tier. Chito not only doesn't really get hit often at all, when he does get hit, doesn't really react to it at all, and he seems to just not bleed. You know, you can't cut this man. Chito, amazing defense, probably the most defensively sound fighter, definitely in the bantamweight division. Maybe one of top 3 most defensively sound fighters in the UFC. Maybe you've got like him, Strickland, a couple others, but Chito Vera does a very good job at hit and not getting hit, which, you know, essentially is the aim of the game. And he also has a great chin. You could maybe swap these two around, but I'm going to put Chito there. I guess we'll see in the upcoming O'Malley fight if he gets tagged hard how good his chin is. But yeah, I'm going to put Moreno in front of him just because Chito is mostly defense rather than toughness and chin. But he definitely has that toughness. Speaking of toughness, let's get the Austins out of the way. Let's go Justin Gaethje. I'm going to put him in the front of B tier. Dustin Poirier, I'm going to put him in C tier. Obviously, Gaethje just knocked Porier out with a head kick. No shade on Dustin Porier for getting knocked out with a fucking head kick from one of the, the most ferocious kickers in the division, to the legs, yes, but that kick power travels to the head as well, so definitely needs his props. Justin Gaethje in B tier, obviously great chin, has to be literally saved in some of his losses, has had to be saved by the ref, similar to like Tony Ferguson, who also could have made this list, but I don't just want to put Tony Ferguson and be like, yeah, well now, he's been finished by Chandler, he got hurt by this guy and this guy. If I was doing this as like a prime, everyone was in their primes, I think the list would be very different, we can all agree, but this is right now. Dustin Poirier does drop a tier because of that KO loss to Gaethje, and it was a pretty clean KO, it wasn't no TKO, he went stiff, so Gaethje at the front of B, Poirier in C in my opinion. Next we're going to go with Dan Hooker. I'm going to put Dan Hooker in C tier as well. I'm going to put him in front of Poirier. Did get finished by Chandler, and I feel like a lot of people kind of forget that happened, but obviously has so many wars, has took so much damage and walked through it to kind of earn his right in the list, so I'm not going to put him any lower than C tier. I think Dan Hooker deserves to be in C tier at least. You could maybe even put him higher. We've seen Dan Hooker almost on the brink of death a couple of times now, and he's been okay. So Dan Hooker goes C tier, I think, in front of Poirier. Next, we're going to go with Jan Blachowicz. I'm also going to put him in C tier. I'm going to put him above Dan Hooker just because he's a light heavyweight. Considering everybody wants to say that Alex Pereira has the touch of death with this left hook, or with any of his shots really, like if he touches you, he has this crazy power. He went up to light heavyweight and fought Jan Blachowicz, and he didn't really hurt him, didn't really wobble him. Obviously, Jan employed like a grapple heavy style from the opening bell pretty much. So we didn't get to see Jan Blachowicz eat Alex Pereira's power, so to speak, but Jan has power of his own. He has a good chin. He has been finished a few times in his career, of course. We've all seen the losses. Even before he got to the belt, he got finished a couple of times, but I think he deserves to be on this list. I would put him above people like McGregor and Whittaker for sure. Would I put him in front of Poirier? Probably not. I'll probably put Jan Blachowicz at the bottom of C tier. Next, we're going to go with Marty from Nebraska. I'm going to put him in C tier. I'm going to put him about there. Obviously got KO'd by Leon Edwards, but has boxed with some big punches, you know what I'm saying? Has traded a couple of times with Jorge. Him and Colby have gone back-to-back so many times. Ultimately, his success kind of damages him with this tier list, because the reason Colby's in B tier and Kamaru is in C tier is because Colby had the chance to show his chin through getting fucked up by Kamaru Usman, you know what I mean? So maybe if Colby had dropped Kamaru Usman like 3 times over their fights, he'd be higher, but didn't really get to see his chin tested too many times, and then when we did see it cracked, it was by a fucking beautiful head kick by one of the best kickers in the whole roster, so, nothing to take away from Kamaru Usman there. Next, we're going to go with Davison Figueiredo. Again, he is a flyweight. I'm going to put him in B tier. You could probably put him higher, to be honest. For such a small guy to get cracked with some of the shots he does, one of the biggest punches in the flyweight division, but doesn't have a chin like Moreno, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, we have seen Figgy hurt a couple of times. As I'm recording this, he is fresh off of a win against Rob Font, where he basically just kind of 3-0'd him, so had the bantamweight test. Not sure how many shots landed clean from Font in Figgy in that fight, so I'm not sure how you know what I'm saying, but still good enough to put him on this list for sure. Next, we'll go with Calvin Kater. Calvin Kater A tier in my opinion. I think he goes in front of Shavkat. Obviously, he's coming off like an injury right now. We need to see Calvin Kater come back, but I know Max Holloway isn't the most powerful puncher in the world. I keep looking at my ring light instead of looking at the camera. I'm really sorry if that's been fucking driving everyone crazy. But obviously took so much damage from Max Holloway, and chin isn't just chin. You know what I'm saying? Chin isn't just your ability to take a shot. It's also your ability to take volume, you know what I'm saying? And not crumble. Like, you can have a good chin for 1 or 2 good shots, but if the third shot cracks you and puts you out, whereas somebody like Calvin Kater can walk through that for 5 rounds, I would say Calvin Kater has a better chin than somebody that would, like I said, take a little bit of damage and crumble. So Calvin Kater I would put above Shavkat. I know if we're talking recent, Calvin Kater hasn't been too active, but you can't ignore that performance against Holloway. At the end of the day, that wasn't that long ago, so I'll put him in there. Pedro Munoz, I'm going to put him in A tier. I'm going to put him behind Nate. Has obviously some losses on his record, but been put out flat KO'd to my knowledge. I've never seen it. please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a Pedro Munoz fanboy, so maybe I'm missing a fight or two in my head, but Pedro Munoz deserves to be an A tier in my opinion. Next, we're going to go with John Jones. John Jones, again, is almost a little bit like Chito in the fact that it's more of a defense thing. So I'm going to put him there. But he has been cracked with a few good shots from Gustafsson, from Reyes. You know, we didn't get to see Cyril kind of hit him with anything. But I think if he fights Stipe might put a shot or two on John. True heavyweight power, you know. Like, these heavyweights, they run out of time a little bit later, you know, they carry that power. I mean, look at that Bellator heavyweight Grand Prix with like Fedor, Chael, Rampage. You know, there was some fucking big punches thrown in that, and they were all old men, so don't sleep on Stipe is all I'm saying. Next we'll go with Izzy. I'm going to put him in C tier. I'm going to put him around there. Showed his chin against Gastelum. Showed his chin against Pereira, to be honest, because again, people say Pereira is this demon, this touches you with the left hook and you're dead. Izzy ate multiple left hooks and kind of stayed on his feet. Obviously, Alex did get the TKO over him, but I would say Izzy belongs in this list. Hasn't been flat put out in MMA yet. Hasn't even been like KO'd in MMA yet. Just that TKO against Alex. Obviously, Strickland did drop him, but hey, if you keep fighting, you're going to get caught. Next, we're going to go with Tommy Aspinall. I'm going to put him in A tier. Listen, before you say, oh, of course he puts him in A tier, he's a British guy. I've explained many times on this channel, boys, alright? I don't give a fuck where you're from. I have no bias with the UK. Tom Aspinall ate 2 heavy shots from fucking Pavlovich. Boom, boom, cracked him twice. He's been putting everyone down, and Tom ate it. You know what I'm saying? That, in my opinion, Sergey Pavlovich is like the new Ngannou, everyone's saying. He's the biggest puncher left in the heavyweight division after Ngannou's left. Aspinall ate it. Maybe I've been a little bit dramatic there. Maybe I'll put him like here. Everybody loves to say that Tom Aspinall keeps his chin in the air and he always gets tagged and one day somebody's going to make him pay for it. Listen, the heavyweights aren't super skilled enough to make you pay for keeping your chin in the air when all the other heavyweights also keep their chin in the air. And not only that, but Tom has been clipped for leaving his chin in the air multiple times by multiple of these heavyweights. And he's all good, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I think he earns his A spot. Fry me in the comments, I apologise. Next, we're going to go with Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm going to put him in C tier. I'm going to put him around here. Ate a big shot from Porier as well as a couple others. Obviously, Aljo didn't get to put any strikes on him, but so fucking what, you know what I'm saying? Aljo isn't the most powerful guy. Porier has legit power, has dropped many people, finished many people with his boxing. O'Malley landed a beautiful shot and then got caught even harder back. His legs almost went from underneath him, but he tanked it. And he got to the end of that fight, put some hairs on his fucking chest, that one did. You could tell when he was kind of stood there and there was announcing the scorecards, he was kind of like, damn, bro, that was a fucking war. You know what I'm saying? Like, that took some fucking years off my life, probably. So, O'Malley earns his spot on this list, in my opinion. Islam, I'm going to put Islam in D tier at the front. Obviously been knocked out clean before, so we know that button is there. And if somebody can push it hard enough, he will go out. But, you know, stumbled a couple of times when he got caught by Volk. Obviously, there's that knockdown that they class as a knockdown, but he kind of like went to shoot in, and Volk kind of took a back step and almost caught him with like a check shot on the takedown, and Islam kind of hit the mat on his hands and knees. I don't think that's like as clean of a knockdown as people say it is, but still a knockdown, and he still did get hurt from a featherweight, and he's also been put out. Does have a good chin, but again, his defense saves him a lot from having to prove it, really. So yeah, D tier for Islam. Next, we're going to go with Alexandre Pantoja. I'm going to put him in B tier. Very underrated fighter. I don't know why. He's literally like, people didn't really care about Pantoja, and I thought, oh, well, when he wins the belt, people are going to care about him. He's won the belt, and I don't hear anything. Everybody's still fucking talking about Brandon Moreno and Figgy, who isn't even in the division anymore. Please pay attention to this man. Please. He Diaz wins over all these top flyweights. He's literally the best fighter in the division, in my opinion. Please pay attention to him. We'll stand there and brawl it out. We'll roll on the ground and go sub for sub, you know what I'm saying? Amazing fighter, amazing chin. Has been cracked a couple of times with some heavy shots in these back and forth that he gets into, especially in the last fight against Moreno. Put some fucking respect on Pantoja's name, bro. Why do I not see him in any of these lists? Nobody talks about him. I don't know why. Next, we're going to go with Francis, and I'm going to put him in A tier. Again, he's a heavyweight. I'm going to, actually, you know what? I'm going to put him at the front of B tier. Never really had to show it that much. Did get cracked a few times from Stipe. Might have got caught here and there by Rosenstruck before the finish. But, you know, hasn't really had to show it too much. But I will put him on here because he definitely has a chin. You know what? I'm gonna put him in the back of B tier. Stopped Tyson Fury's jab. Did a lot of good things against Tyson Fury, but didn't really tick the box of the chin. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tyson's not really a big puncher anyway, but he didn't, like, crack Francis with a shot, and we got to see his chin, you know what I mean? But we know Francis has a good chin. He ate some shots from Stipe when he was exhausted, you know, so has a good chin. Next, we're going to go with Volkanovski. Before the second Islam fight, it probably would have been an A tier, but I can't help but put him in B tier. It's funny because Volk always gets fucking caught with head kicks, and some of them do sneak through and actually crack him. But most of the time, he just kind of eats it, and he's like, good shot. You know what I mean? He just gives him a little nod. Islam obviously set him up perfectly for it. No camp, no preparation. I don't know what there is to be said about all that, but again, makes B tier, probably like behind Gaethje or something. Volk can definitely have these wars, but when you get put out like that, things change a little bit. And then last but certainly not least, I'm going to put Max Holloway. Where's Marvin Vettori, bro? Why? I swear I put Marvin Vettori on this fucking list. There we go. Okay, Max Holloway, chicken salad. The only man to beat him, in my opinion, is Marvin Vettori. Now, Marvin Vettori in those shots off Cannonier is probably the biggest moment in the whole history of the UFC where I've kind of been like, damn, this guy, that's the best chin that I've ever seen. But I think Holloway and Vettori have the two best chins in the UFC. Max Holloway, I think, is... especially if he goes up to lightweight and fights Gaethje, I think we're going to see him crack soon. But I don't think that there's anybody on the fucking roster that could knock Marvin Vettori out. I just don't. I don't think we're going to see him get finished. Feel free to clip it if in the next fight he gets flatline KO'd in the first round. But I'm sticking to my guns, bro. I don't think anybody is ever going to KO Marvin Vettori. I think he's going to retire with maybe a couple TKO losses. He drops... I can't even see him dropping. Who drops Marvin Vettori? You know what I'm saying? He's a demon. But yeah, man, Marvin Vettori earns a spot at the top of the list, in my opinion. And at the bottom of the list is Conor McGregor. Every single person on this list has a good chin, in my opinion. If there's anybody I missed, I almost missed Marvin Vettori, who is literally number one on this list. So 100% there's going to be some other people I missed. But apologies. If you like the video, Thank you very much for watching. I have a bunch of other MMA videos on my channel and a bunch more coming. I'm live every single card, so I will be live this Saturday for Gutierrez and Song. So come pop in, say hello. The last stream last week was my first ever stream and it went amazingly. So shout out to everyone that pulled up for that. Thank you very much. My name's Harry. I talk about fights. Bang, there's a picture of Conor McGregor as a fucking elf.